Hello and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make these delicious sweet rice cakes. They are from Tanzania and I'm sure you'd love them. They're just so sumptuous and so soft and lovely to have with a cup of tea. I love to have it with my curry or something with a nice gravy or a sauce with it. So normally when you make these rice cakes, they're called Vitumbua, by the way. Vitumbua plural and Kitumbua singular. Normally when you make these rice cakes, you normally have to soak your rice overnight or at least 8 hours. But I've come up with a method that allows you to just soak your rice for 3 hours, being the genius that I am. But without any further ado, let's just get on with it. Right, so the first thing I did is wash 1 mug full of rice. Now that equates to 260 grams or 1¼ cups. Yeah, I've washed it thoroughly, put it into my blender. My blender is currently broken, so I'm using my smoothie maker. And then I also peeled about 5 cardamom pods, and I emptied the contents of the pods into the blender. Then you're going to need your coconut milk, okay? Now, with the coconut milk, if you're using a powdered version, I use 3/4 cups of the powder, and then I make the liquid up to be 400 ml or 1¾ cups. And if you're using the cream coconut version, then I use about half of that bar or a little less than half, let's say 1/3 of the bar. And I also make up the liquid to the same amount. Now I'm just giving it a little blend, not for long, just to break up the rice a little bit. This is what's going to help the rice soak much quicker than the traditional method. Okay, so what you do is leave it in the blender, and every half an hour blend it for half a minute or a minute or a couple of minutes, and that will help break up the rice even more. So let's go through why this method works and why the soaking process is so much quicker. So let's pretend this plantain is 1 grain of rice. Now, using the traditional method, the water would only touch the surface of the whole grain of rice. However, using this method that I've discovered, you're cutting the rice into many pieces when you initially blend it in with the coconut milk. And what that does is it exposes more surface area, a larger surface area, and so you're increasing the surface area of the rice, which makes the soaking process quicker because the water is reaching more of the rice. Yeah, so this is after I think about 2½ hours. And this is what it looks like. It looks more creamy. Now the secret of the perfect kitumbua should be really soft, but it shouldn't be kind of sticky or tacky inside. And the other thing is you don't want it to be dry. And one of the ways to achieve that is to make sure that your batter is blended to such a smooth consistency. Now you can see the back of my spoon here is coated, and it looks like a flour and water mixture that's been mixed really well. So it should be like this. And this is after the end of my soaking period, so it's been 3 hours now. So that is the secret of a perfect kitumbua. Okay, now you can get different textures inside and they can still be perfect. Everyone likes their kitumbua a different way. Some people put flour in there, some people, well, I put egg in mine as well, but you know, there's different versions that are still perfect. It just depends how you want it. So now this is after 3 hours, it's reached a perfect consistency. And I'm adding some sugar to this. It's just under 1 cup. I find that if I put a full cup, it's a little bit too sugary. So I've got that amount there, and I'm just showing the people who measure with a mug, which I like to do, what it looks like, that measurement in sugar. And with the coconut milk, actually, I forgot to mention, sometimes I use 1 mugful, sometimes I use 1½ mugful. So what I did with the coconut milk measurement there, so just make you halfway, and halfway is the measurements that I just mentioned. So I've also added 1.5 teaspoons of yeast there. My yeast has just got stuck a little bit, so I've had to open it up and kind of tease it out with a spoon. But I also added 1 egg, which I forgot to film. But I add the egg because I find that when you add the egg, it really gives the Vitumbua a moistness without it being sticky inside or kind of the texture that you don't want. So it still holds its strong shape, but it is moister and softer, and I find that it lasts longer. My Vitumbuas actually last about a week in the fridge, so long as you store it the correct way. So anyway, at this stage I'm just blending and making sure that I've got the smoothest consistency that I can get. And the way I check that quickly is just to put some of the mixture between my thumb and index finger, and I just give it a little feel and make sure that I can't feel any grains of rice there at all. And once everything is blended, you put your mixture into the bowl. And I also need to mention that this will give you, if you're making large Vitumbuas, it will give you 6 to 7. You can stretch to 8 if you want, but what you do is you cover the mixture with cling film or a plate or a lid and let it proof or rise. And mine was sitting for an hour, and I've actually split my mixture into 2 because I wanted to make something else. But when it's time to start cooking, you need to prepare a bowl with part ghee and part oil. Ghee is something you can get in Indian shops. If you don't want to use ghee, you can just use sunflower oil or vegetable oil. That's fine. This is the pan I'm using, and in Tanzania they have similar pans special for Vitumbua, and they're made of cast iron. However, this I found in a shop in London, and it's obviously non-stick, which is very helpful. But if you want details of the shop, if you are located in the UK or in London, I'll have it linked, I'll have it written down below. I'll also have an online link for you to find a similar pan online. And also I found this lady on YouTube actually that she had a short video advertising that she's actually selling pans from Tanzania, these specific Vitumbua pans. So I'll also have her details down below as well. And then you're also going to need something with a pointy end like this, that's very slim. So either a wooden skewer, bamboo skewer, metal skewer, anything of the sort. If you're really desperate, you can go for a toothpick. I suppose that would work. But right, so I'm just heating up my pan first, and I've got it on a high flame at the moment, but when I'm actually cooking the Vitumbuas, I will be using a low to medium flame. Okay, now that's just a matter of judgment. You need to know your cooker very well, but it's a low to medium flame. We just don't want to cook the Vitumbuas too fast because inside they won't be cooked. So the first thing you do is you start with adding your mixture of ghee and oil into each of the molds, and this is the amount I put. You can put a little bit less, I guess, because it's a non-stick pan. You don't require as much fat. So next I'm going to be taking my mixture or batter, and what I try to do is I try to fill it up almost to the rim. Okay, I just find that they look better, they have a better shape if you fill it up as much as you can. You don't want it overflowing, because remember, when you're putting the batter into the molds, it does begin to rise because it's got yeast in there. So that's why I don't fill it up right to the top, but almost. I mean, it kind of looks like it's to the top. So here I'm just waiting for it to start holding its shape at the bottom. And remember, I've got the flame to a medium now, or even like below a medium, between a low and a medium somewhere. and I'm grabbing my skewer and I'm start to spin it around just to make sure it's got an even flame all around. This is just my cooker. It's just kind of like an OCD thing that I have. Everything, little thing that I cook, especially when it's kind of like a flatbread or any sorts of cakes like this, if it's not a stewy kind of thing, I do like to spin my pan around or spin the actual thing that I'm cooking around just to make sure it's got an even flame or evenly heated throughout. You don't have to do this, obviously. If you've got a nice cooker that distributes its heat evenly, then, well, you're good. So I'm going to do this for a little bit, and as you can see, the bubbles are forming, and that means that you're getting this nice texture forming inside that's nice and aerated, and it will make your vitumbuas a nice and fluffy inside, which is what you want. So once you think they look like mine, you flip it over like this. Now, if you have a pan that has smaller molds, you know, smaller semicircular molds in it, I find that you don't need the help of a spoon. But the reason why I use a spoon is I just want to prevent any breakage in the process of flipping the vitumbua over. But this is how you do it, and I'm just going to show you one more time in slow motion how it's done again. It takes a little bit of practice, but after doing a few, you'll get used to it. It's really not that difficult. So it's just a flip, and then I tuck the edges in that aren't really sitting in the cubby hole. And here I am just spinning them around again, just to ensure everything is nice and even all the way around. And then, you know, sometimes I'll find that, you know, the top hasn't got the color that I want, so then I'll spin it back. I'll flip it back over, and, you know, until I get the coloring that I want. Traditionally, vitumbuas are meant to be quite dark in color, so it's kind of like this. Now here I'm testing if it's actually ready, and the way I do that is obviously poke the skewer into the center of the vitumbua, and it may not come out dry. It doesn't need to come out dry, but if anything does come out onto the skewer, it should feel like a piece of rice that's been cooked, and if that's how it feels, then it's ready. But what you definitely don't want is a wet or damp skewer. So what I do is, once I take them off the pan, I put them on a plate that's got a paper towel already lined on it, and that can just absorb all of the excess oil that's left over. And voila, there you have it. That wasn't too difficult at all, was it? Gone are the days where you want a vitumbua now, and you know you have to wait until tomorrow because you've got to soak the rice overnight. Gone are those days, and you can have it today. If you want to have it today, you've just got to use this method of soaking the rice this way, and you get perfect results. You know, there's no compromising. So I'm just going to show you how to store the vitumbua. I cut them in half because mine are quite big because of the pan I have, and I wrap them in cling film. And then once I've wrapped them all in cling film, by the way, my vitumbuas are cool before I wrap them. Then I put them into as a resealable bag, or you can put them in a Ziploc bag. But I kind of do this rolling thing first just to make sure all the air has been forced out, and then I seal it, because the air is what makes breads and cakes and things like that go stale very quickly. Okay, so you seal it, put it in the fridge or the freezer. In the fridge, I'm telling you, we've had vitumbuas last 7 days, and if we hadn't finished on the seventh day, we would have eaten it for even longer. But in the freezer, they last a lot longer. You can keep it up to a month or two. But, you know, disclaimer, I'm not a microbiologist, so I don't exactly know the exact time period you can have it in the freezer, but I do have them in there for a month or two, and they're fine. The other thing is, when you're warming the vitumbuas, if you've stored them the way I told you to store them, then you take them out of your Ziploc bag or your resealable bag. Then you put them on a plate in the microwave without taking the cling film off, and that will retain the moisture and make sure that the moisture doesn't evaporate and make your kitumbua dry when you are warming it. And warming a kitumbua that size, like the half that I showed you, it doesn't take that long. 20 to 30 seconds is enough if it's from the fridge. If it's out of the freezer, then I would warm it 15 seconds at a time and then watch how it heats up, and then obviously take it out when it's hot enough. But thank you very much for watching. I appreciate you taking time out of your day to watch my videos. If you like what you see and you aren't already subscribed, please subscribe to my channel, because I have a lot more great content to come along. And to the people that have subscribed to me already, I am so happy and I'm so elated that you can join me on my channel, and I will have a lot more great content for you. And if I have helped you out, or I've taught you something today, then it would be so good if you can give me a like on this video, and even better if you can leave a comment so that I can actually see and hear from you, you know, on a one-to-one basis, what I have done for you. And even if you have any suggestions for my channel, you know, that would be great to hear as well. So until next time, thank you so much, and I'll see you soon.